gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Can I please have your attention?
Now showtime. Are you ready? Are you ready for start time?
Let's find out. Ready? Let's go.
What's up, Facebook Live? This is episode 5 of DJ R.O.B. Presents Taking It Back. And as you can see from that little teaser video, we got a special guest, another, believe it or not, another Las Vegas legend. So we're going to get into some discussion, some conversation, some bullet points, stay on topic sometimes, but feel free to go off topic. But first and foremost, before we get into that, I got to thank all you guys for showing up last Friday to Reunion 2021. Man, you guys showed up and you showed out. Everybody had a great time. I got tons of phone calls, tons of messages, tons of emails, everything. People said they had a great time. They loved the venue. And because of that, you got a reward coming. Believe it or not, we're going to do a couple more events before the year is over. So we're going to be doing a Halloween party. So look out for the info coming soon. It'll probably most likely be on Halloween night, October 31st. And we're going to call it Scare Reunion. Scare Reunion. You get it? Plus, we're going to do a holiday party in December. So that's just for you guys for always supporting. So thanks once again. As a matter of fact, my next guest was at the party. Thank you for coming out. So without further ado, he needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as Warren White or you know him as Warren Peace. Give it up for Warren Peace.
Yo, what
Yeah.
up? What's up, everybody? How you doing? Warren Peace here. Good to see you. Thank you so much for showing up. Thanks, hey man. Thanks for having me. For real.
Shoot, I was trying to think of Vegas people.
Yeah.
And you're one of those guys. Now, I keep saying we go back like an 8-track and a Cadillac with the seats back.
Yeah.
Some of my old school friends, me and you go way back like a cassette in an 8-track.
Yes.
You know, late
Yes,
80s.
yes,
Or some of my
yes.
other friends are late 70s, early
Yeah.
80s, but still, that's over 30-something years.
Yeah.
And I was looking up flyers that we performed together
Yeah.
back in 91. So that's exactly 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to just ask you, why Vegas? How did you end up Vegas? Were you born and raised? Did you come out here as a DJ? Or what happened? How did you get to Vegas?
I came to Vegas from a place called Yuma, Arizona. And I was, my dad worked for the government. He was a civil engineer for Department of Interior. Actually, no, Department of Interior. And he basically was like, my senior year in high school in Yuma, he was like, okay, I'm going to Vegas. And I had my senior year in high school in Arizona all plotted out. Like I was going to be class president. We were going to do this. We were going to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I started telling my friends that my family's moving to Vegas. My family was like, well, we'll let you stay here. And everyone's like, how are you going to pass up Vegas? Like, you're an idiot. You got to go to Vegas. You got to. So I said, well, shit, I guess I'm going to Vegas, you know?
That's kind of whack. Senior year, all the fellas,
Yes,
all the friends, all the women, the
yes,
prom.
yes, dude,
missing
all
out
that.
on all that for a
Dude,
new city.
I miss, and that's the thing. When you come from a small city, you kind of think the vibe is still the same. You kind of think that, like, and it coming to Vegas, it wasn't like that. Like, I literally missed out, like, homecoming, prom. I was the biggest nobody. I was a senior year. Bonanza, like I was the biggest nobody there. And then like towards the end, I remember the end of the year, like February, March, everyone started actually asking me questions, and it's because I would always start bringing up groups. Like that's when the Beastie Boys came out. Like, yo, have you guys heard of the Beastie Boys? Have you guys heard of this? Because I was still I was going to Odyssey Records like twice a week.
What was your graduation year?
87.
Oh, dang, okay.
Yeah. So I was just, I was on it. That's how I kind of made friends and was cool. Like I got cool points with everybody because I knew the cool groups, before they came out. So yeah, it kind of sucked, but it was kind of cool, but
you weren't in the DJ bug, or I knew you loved music.
I loved music. So I had a cousin in New York, and whenever my mom would talk to her sister, I would like, yo, let me talk to Bart. And me, back then, a long distance phone call was $2 a minute or something. Like you got
a collect call from Warren White.
Yeah, you got it. Like, dude, it was like, you got to be on it. Like, you got like, okay. So he would literally, he's talking. I was like, get the records ready, or what was it? What is it? And he would we'd jump on the phone. He'd be, okay, Sleeping Bag Records, Fat Boys, Just Ice, blah, blah, blah. The other record company you want to look for is Def Jam. This is group EPMD. And I would just be just writing stuff down. And a minute was up, and I had to pass the phone to my brother. And then I try to jump on again, and I was like, who else? He goes, there's this DJ named Red Alert. I think he's doing a record. So-and-so, look for a guy named Chuck Chill Out. So then he basically give me all these names and labels, and they'd all be jumbled up.
Saved you all the headache and the homework.
Yeah, and I'd be like, here. So then I'd run to the store, a record store, or I think it was like equivalent to Best Buy. They had a magazine section, and I'd pick up the magazines and just look for and start like tracing names. It was almost like, CSI, we have the board, and I was always like, okay, Sleeping Bag is EPMD. Chung Studios is where so this group. But then
when the label always had that hot thing, sometimes you'd buy it blind, like the Tommy Boy. When the Tommy Boy, you didn't even have to go hear it on the radio. Tommy Boy had a new single, you were going to get it.
Dude, a Def Jam record? I was like, I'm getting that. I remember I was pleasantly surprised with Jack the Ripper. I was like, oh, like how come this wasn't on the album? Like, so I was a huge nobody, but I knew my stuff. And I remember senior year, and I heard about a party. I was listening to 88.1, and I heard about a party that I don't know. I remember if your name was said or anything, but it was a hip hop party, and I was like, okay, I got to go to this. And I went to it, and I showed up late, or it was ending like 30 minutes after I got there, and I remember seeing you spinning, and I think there were I think Rory was there. I'm pretty sure I saw Twin.
That was maybe 88, 87?
Probably more like 86, 87.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And I remember just looking, going, okay, that dude's a DJ. All right, he knows what he's doing. And I could, I remember you just look at record jackets, and I could see you had all the right record jackets. So I was like, all right, well, there's something going on here. And, you were scratching, you were doing your thing. And I was like, okay, this guy knows what's going on. And then after that, I remember hearing your name, Frankie's name, Rory's name, Twin, but I never really went to anything, But I remember hearing, the buzz. So
you didn't hear about Mr. G's 1987? That was the hot urban club.
I think I
live remote on 88.
I think I listened to all the live remotes, so I definitely have heard it. Yeah. I don't even. Like it's funny because when we first started talking, I was trying to think like how we met, and I was just like, I think we had, after I went to UNLV for college and KUNV, we started, because we started running in the same circles. I started hearing your name, you probably started hearing my name, and I think we kind of had mutual respect for what each other were doing, but we never really did anything. And then we started doing things together, get paired up for different parties, and I think at that point we were just kind of like, oh, okay, well this guy knows what he's doing, this guy knows, and we just kind of like, kind of a mutual respect kind of grew. But I don't think there's ever been a time where we're like, yo, let's go have lunch. Let's go do this. Like, I think it was just like a professional respect.
Yeah, because right when you were coming into the picture is when I took my little break from 87 to like 90, 91. I started doing the producing stuff with Dino, going on the road with Dino and stuff like that. And I actually took like a 2-year hiatus, not even touched record or bought a record. Then in like 90, 91, got back into it again, and you were already doing your thing.
Right.
But we were doing our little pre-interview, and we were trying to figure out who met who, where, and how. And when we did the math with the year, it had to be the club, because you said it was like Spring Mountain-ish area, and it wasn't That's Entertainment because that was too early.
Yeah,
for
it was. I want to say it was on Valley View and Spring Mountain, Valley View in Charleston. I think it was over there. And I just remember walking in, and I remember seeing you. And I was like, all right, this guy knows what's going on. And I remember staring at your records because, as a DJ, you had to see if he knew what, knew what you were doing. And I remember, profile sleeve, you see profile sleeve, like, all right, you see Tommy Roy, so you're like, okay, a Def Jam sleeve, all right. And then, see the random, like, Macola records, because I really didn't know about Macola records because I was getting all my influences from the East Coast. So I started seeing Macola. I saw your Macola record sleeve, and I was like, okay. So I go to the record store and see that sleeve and go, let me start paying attention to this thing. And then you start connecting no internet, Macola records, who's on this, LA Dream Team, this, that. Oh, they have other.
We had a whole episode where we talked about Macola.
Okay.
It was the West Coast distributor / they kind of represented the artist as a label, but they were really a distributor.
Right.
Macola Records. But everybody knew it as a label.
Yeah.
And then the NWAs and the Wrecking Crews and the Egyptian Lovers.
Yep.
So when we did DEF CON, and we talked all about this, we used Macola to do the DEF CON record. And we did it in 86. And I remember it was time for us to go pick up the record. So you had to drive to Santa Monica and go in the building, and you're seeing all the labels of Egyptian Lover and the Wrecking Crew and all the electro stuff, Ice-T stuff. And we were like excited. And we seen this big truck outside loading boxes. And our DEF CON is already getting distributed and shipped. But they actually said, we had to put your record on hold because this other record came out and it's blown up. So we had to stop the presses and start pressing this record and this record.
What was the record?
It was Timex Social Club Rumors. And it took another 2 or 3 months for us to get our stacks ready and get into the stores. But Macola, they're known for not paying the people.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's record companies. Yeah.
But like you say, the labels were like, that was the identifier.
That was it. That was, and I remember you get pissed off. You buy a record and you get like the artist was whack. You're like, damn it! Like I
took a chance one time.
Yeah, like I remember buying the Junkyard Band and going, what is this? The word, like what? Because it was Def Jam, and I remember like, well, there's something to it, and I just put it away. And I remember kept coming back to it and going, this word Junkyard Band thing ain't bad, and it kind of grew on me. But yeah, there was always different artists. You're like, oh man, got me.
So you kind of, me and you did the same thing, buying records as kids, buying the 45s. Like in 75, you bought Disco Duck on RSO records.
RSO.
1975-ish, I bought Jive Talking by the Bee Gees on a 45.
Yep.
Then we start DJing.
Yep.
Then you start doing a mix show, and everybody knows how popular your mix show was, the Word Up show. So talk about, you're already at UNLV, so that was your foot in the door, because if you're alumni or if you're in the school, you can get on the radio. So talk about the Word Up show. So
I was still a DJ. Like in my head, I was still a DJ. I was collecting records. I was DJing. I think I was doing frat parties, and I was doing whatever I could. DJ. I was doing whatever the fuck I could. And
year was for Word Up show?
88, 89. I forget when I first got in there. But Carmelita.
88.
Yeah. I went to I went to a record sale. So KUMV would have these record sales, and as a DJ, dude, you get a record for $1, you're in it. Like, I'm not eating for a week. I'm buying these records. So I go to it, and Carmelita saw me like going crazy over all these rap records. So I started finding all these rap records, and DJ Almighty. I started finding all these rap records. They had tons of jive artists I didn't know about. I was like, oh shoot! I just started, and they're like a quarter. I'm like, man, this. I had a huge stack. And so Carmelita was like, hey, what do you know about that stuff? I'm like, this is this. I just spit out everything I knew. And she's like, come up to the station tomorrow. I go, what time? 11. So she introduced me to Brett Green And Brett was like, all right, do you, I need an assistant. Carmelia's leaving. Do you what do you know? And I was like, well, I know hip hop. I love music, blah, 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 blah. He's like, well, we want you to listen to we want you to listen to all this alternative music, which I had no love for at all. But we'll give you all these rap records. I was like, I'll do anything you want. Yep, Brett Green, top guy on the top. To the left was Joe Habershaw. And
look how young you were there.
yeah, I was pretty damn young. I was pretty damn young. My wife always laughs at that picture. But so the posters in the background, I think that's New Order. It looks like the Cult in the middle, Kumo D. We used to love that Kumo D poster.
Yeah, I was in that same room in 82, 83, 84 when we were doing the mix there.
Right off the corner. Yeah. So I missed when you guys are at KUMV, I missed that. Mm-hmm. But people would always, so you got to realize all through my journey in the early years, everyone would say, oh, like R.O.B. and Frankie. Mm-hmm. Oh, R.O.B. and Frankie did that. Oh, Rory did that. Oh, do you know Twin? And I'm like, I know of them. I don't really know them, but I know of them. And so you guys' names were always mentioned. And I kind of went this path and was kind of pulled this direction. And eventually, we started spinning together and we just kind of started knowing each other.
Mm-hmm. Shark Days and little underground spots here and there. And when all the promoters were doing the little cool small spots.
The raves and stuff like that. Yeah.
We got some old flyers of that. But you witnessed as getting into the radio, the corporate side of music, even though you had your street side of DJing. When you get into radio, whether it's college radio or any radio, and starting to do your mix shows and stuff. And we kind of touched on this when we talked the other day. And I mean, we ain't seen each other in a couple of years between the pandemic and last time I seen you was at Dre's.
At a corporate. Yeah.
So we got to talk for a little bit last week when you were going to come on here.
Yeah.
So you had talked about when I was producing artists, you said, man, Vegas didn't give no love to artists.
So you guys got to realize that the whole history of hip hop is based on an artist coming out of a town, and the artist comes out of the town and the whole town supports him. That's the Too Short story. That's the Run DMC story. That's the Dirty South story.
Every city
single,
has their artist.
Every single, and it's so evident that even now they're on. If you listen to SiriusXM, they have these other channels. They have mixes from only that city. So they have the Virginia mix, the Philly mix, and they have all these artists that you probably never heard of. That's how much support and love the town. Vegas never did that. Vegas never, ever did that. And there was a lot of talent here. Like we were talking before, the King J record you did. That was a hit. I remember talking to the guys at Profile, and they're like, we are getting a ton of traction on this record. K-Meal's about to add it, blah, 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 soon. Cube and Seattle's going to look. As soon as K-Meal adds it, it's already on the mix show. And it was fast. The traction was fast. And the reason I would get these updates is because the label would call me and say, how's that record doing out there? Mm-hmm. And I sadly had to say, it's doing all right, but it's
Where's the push?
Yeah, it wasn't getting local love. And I noticed that, me and you were talking, the King J record, and every time I see King J, I always tell him, dude, you had a hit. You were on the way. The Dino record got some love. I'll give it that. Mm-hmm. But the Killers never got any love until they went out of town and came back.
When they blew up, then Vegas said, that's our band.
And that always irked me. I remember talking to a local radio music director, and I remember telling him about Neo. It was me and Obi-Wan. We're talking about Neo, and the radio guy, the music director, didn't believe that Neo was from Las Vegas. Just didn't believe it. Mm-hmm. And we're like, and Obi-Wan had more information than I did. He was like, dude, he went to this high school. He, was in the performing arts and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just looking at him going, how are you just denying that this artist is...
They don't want him to be. It's like they don't want him to be here because then it's not solidified to them, I think.
I think it's also culture. Vegas is always about a winner. You support UNLV when it's winning. When the Vegas Knights start losing, watch how many Vegas Knights fans there are.
But Neo wasn't hot yet, is what you're saying?
Neo had a hit that we all liked. Mm-hmm. It was his first hit, and that's what kind of irked me. Is
Sexy Love or something?
It might have been. It was something all of us were like. What I don't know what it is for. Maybe Sexy. I think it was before. It had a little more oomph to it. But I remember we were like, yo, we like this record. And he was giving us a hard time for playing it. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a Vegas guy. So I've always noticed that.
Noticed a lack of support.
Yeah, the total lack of support the Vegas had for its people. And it always irked me. It always irked me.
I told you Neo was in a little boy band before he was Neo.
Yeah.
And they recorded in my studio. And I got the old DAT tape from that. I could do some little blackmail. TMZ, where you at? No.
Featuring Neo.
But on the King J story, unfortunately, and I produced that song knowing that formula of you got the singing hook, you got that West Coast funk track. And I formulated that. And some of the other songs on the album, but I knew Profile was on their outs. We already knew Profile was already pushing us back about, we don't think we're going to be able to do an album. After we already said, yeah, we're doing an album. And then you said, well, they weren't pushing it like Profile used to. I
knew that, again, I was on the inside, and it seemed like they were calling me to touch base because I was like the outside. I was in Vegas, but I was like on the outside. You know, if they talk to you, of course, they're going to say, oh, yeah, this record's a hit. So they call me and go, what do you think? And I was always like, yo, this is a hit. Like, this is a good song. Like, I know that guy. I know King J. Like, that's a good, like, this guy did Dino. Like, he has dance hits. I go, listen to that track. Like, that is a groove. Like, you can't help but bob your head to that groove. And King J, I go, it's Vegas. I go, you should be able to sell it. And then that's when they just kind of broke down. Go, yeah, we're getting a lot of traction from it. We're doing this. It's like, it's really starting to blow. But unfortunately, we just don't know. So I think they were deciding whether or not they wanted to put the last minute money into it.
They didn't.
Yeah.
And we got word in different ways. You know how they'll make this excuse and this excuse.
Yeah.
But after that, there was nothing Profile.
But I just remember that, like, damn it, if KLUC or not Power 97 or whatever, if they would have jumped on this, like, there would have been no issue. You wouldn't have called the college DJ and asking how this record is. You know, you would have just said, yeah, let's just put the money into it. Let's go. But, you know, it's the story of record labels. You know, unfortunately, that's how it is. But I honestly thought that the records would. I honestly thought that Vegas would be. I was really, really surprised that Vegas really didn't get behind their artists as much as they did. And listen, I know there's a bunch of y'all out there going, yeah, you never got behind me. And I was, rappers bring stuff to me all the time. Be like, Warren, you got to play this. I'm like.
You got me all excited.
Yeah.
Because I came to the store and you said, Rob, that King J record, I like it. And you had the little stack in there.
Dude, I was telling you, man, I swear, I mean, who else brings up the King J record to you?
Never. You're the first one to brought it up.
See? No one brings that record up.
When you told me that just now, I was like, I remember when I went into the store, which is a great transition because I do want to talk about the store. But the store was the ish.
Yeah.
And luckily, I was a block away because my studio was on Trop.
I remember being in a studio.
So I used to come up there all the time. If I knew I was doing a little function, I had to catch up on the records. You either have 5 or 6 laid out. This is hot. And then I'd go upstairs to the used site. But what made you... Was the online first? The online record store first?
So me and Pizzo, we started doing hip hop site. We basically did it out of his house. We did it out of his bedroom. And Pizzo's like, we should buy records and sell it online. I said, cool. So we buy stacks of records and it just shipped to his house, and then we ship them from his house. And then all of a sudden, his sister went to college, and his sister went to college, and we took over his sister room. So we had all the records in the sister room. And God, I love Mike's parents, Sam and Mitzi. And they said, and we'd be there all night, like stuffing envelopes with records and CDs and stuff. And
the two of you.
Just me and him. And in Pizzo's room is when we cut the deal to run Eminem.com. That's when Pizzo's like, dude, there's this artist Eminem. Anyway, after we took on Eminem.com and after we championed him and did a t-shirt, his parents came to us and said, listen, we're going to move our car out of the garage and we're going to give you half the garage. So we had like half the garage, like maybe a car and a half of size of a garage. And that was the store. And then it just got too big. And his parents like, you guys need to get, a warehouse or something. So we got a warehouse and we put a temporary trailer in it with 8 seats. That became the office and the whole warehouse. And DJ 5 was like our number one employee. I love bringing it up. Like 5 was like one of our first employees. 5 and
Crazy.
DJ R.O.B.s. And so we had a big ass warehouse with
just online shipping only.
Online only. But what happened was everyone was coming to Vegas and that's when I realized the power of Vegas. Everyone's coming to Vegas, and we would get a call or an email every week. So, I'm coming to town. Where is your store? I'm coming to town. Where is your store? And I was like, dude, we got to get a store. Like, it's only be maybe $1,000 more than what we're paying here. So we started looking, and we went to the old tower, and I was like, yo, this is open, so it's close to the Strip. So we said, F it. And we just said, okay,
I
let's
used to buy records at that
yeah.
tower.
And then it got too big, and we had to blow out the other side. We had to move the hydroponics that was on the end and move them over, and we had to blow out that wall.
That's dope. I remember
so at
that
that
too.
point, we became the world's largest hip hop store. And I say that with 110% confidence because I've probably been to every major hip hop store, and they're super small. Like, we had all hip hop.
Second level.
Had a second level. It was I don't remember the square footage.
You're still doing online orders and the physical
still doing
store.
online and the physical
And
store.
what was outweighing the other? Was online still bigger?
Online was way bigger. Online was way bigger. But we just had we did the store because we needed the warehouse, and we everyone kept saying, where can I go? Where can I go? And then the local DJs, everyone came in that store,
There's the store.
Everyone was in that store. Everyone.
Shout out to Mike Pizzo.
Yeah,
God.
every AM. I remember before
Way back then he was in the store. What was the year of the store? What was the starting date and end date?
Dude, these dates. I don't know. I don't know. I can call Mike real quick. Yeah, I don't know. I'm bad with dates. I'm so bad with dates. But yeah, dude, everyone was in that store. Everyone would come in that store. Everyone would if it had a gig, they'd come in the store and stock up on stuff. And one of the things is it's a horrible business decision, but one of the things we didn't realize until 2 years into the store that you could actually return items.
Oh, wow. You're sitting on them.
So we just sat on everything and had it. So people were like, oh, I need an old copy of, we got that.
But wasn't when record companies sent you this, was they consignment or you bought them, but then
We
if they didn't
bought 'em.
sell, they would buy them back?
Yeah, you could return them. If after 30 days or whatever, you return it. But we never returned anything because we didn't know. We didn't know. I remember 2 years in, Pizzo was like, yo, we can return olds. Are you kidding? All those Ashanti 12 inches? We can return them. But on the same sense, it was dope because people were coming and we'd have it. Because we were sitting on it. Oh, what do you want? Old Fat Joe featuring blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there it is right there. There's 5 of them, So I started, we started learning the business-wise, we weren't the smoothest then, I want to say. But it was fun.
At least you did it.
Yeah.
And
it was
everybody
fun.
remembers it. That was when the DJ culture was getting hot.
Yeah.
The club started.
The club started. Everyone was, I remember mashup culture was huge. We did
We're
the
going to talk
mashup
about
record.
that.
Yeah.
And I don't know the order. I think Raw was before the Inhumans.
Yes.
So record store closes what year?
I don't, dude, I'm horrible with years.
Oh, let me
I don't remember.
96ish?
Dude, sounds right to me. I honestly do not remember.
And then
So that was my like my heyday. So I had Hip Hop Site. I was working at Raw. I was doing 2 mix shows. I was
that's
still
why
doing.
I figured Raw, and that was kind of coinciding.
Yeah, I was doing Word Up and I was doing KLUC. And I think I had my first kid around then.
How did you have time to have a kid with all that going on?
Dude, actually, this is how I had time.
It only takes 5 minutes, that's right.
My wife went to go get her master's degree. So I had like 2 or 3 years, I think 2 years, yeah, that she was just like, do what you need to do. So I was like, getting stuff done. Yeah. But yeah, that was some fun years. Definitely fun years.
Everybody knows the only real hip-hop night that a major club on the Strip did was Raw. And how did you talk?
Oh, that was
that
was a great story. I always tell a story, and Dwayne King. It was probably good. If anyone knows Dwayne King, tell him.
He was on one of these, giving us a little shout out on this.
Okay, yeah. Well, tell him I'm telling the Club Ross story again. I was doing. Were you around? Yo, E-Rock.
E-Rock in the house.
Yeah. Were you around when Fremont Reggae and Blues? You remember that?
Yep.
Okay. So we had done Fremont Reggae and Blues, and the owner and the promoter of that club basically would just let me do what I wanted. He's like, yeah, dude, what do you think? That works? Okay, do it. Like, he was really, really cool. Really, really, like, we synced really good. Anyway, Dwayne had heard about Fremont Reggae and Blues. And he's like, hey, we want to do a hip hop. He called me. I'll never forget. I know what the phone looks like. I know I can see the corner. He called me. I picked it up. He goes, hey, Warren, what's up? It's Dwayne King. And I was like, oh, what up, dude? And Dwayne King was at the Mets, you know, doing the undergrounds and all that stuff. And he's like, yo, dude, we want to do, I'm at Raw, you know, blah, blah, blah. We want to do a hip hop night at Raw. And I was like, get the F out of here. Go, come on, dude. Like, whatever. Stop. You're lying to me. Because honestly, and I tell this story all the time, like, Vegas did not want it. You did not want a hip hop. Like, all the hip hop was like behind the doors or on the bad weekend or what, like, it was just not, you know, you didn't do hip hop. It was blowing up on the radio and everyone listened to it, but you know, it just wasn't the moneymaker and it wasn't the image that these clubs wanted if you had clubs. So you could do it in a bar, you could do whatever, but if it got too big, you had to find another bar. So I was just laughing because it was like, dude, on the strip, oh, Carmenelle, word. So on the strip, I got to tell a Carmenelle story too. So on the strip, he said, yeah, we want to do it. I was like, dude, get out of here. This is hilarious. And I hung up on him. Called me right back. He's like, dude, why'd you hang up on me? I'm like, dude, that was a great joke. You know, do you want to get into reggae in Fremont this year, like this week? Like, what's up? Why are you calling me? And he's like, no, we really want to do it. I'm like, get the F out of here. And he's like, no, we want to do it. I said, what night? A Thursday. I'm like, all right, well, how do you want to do it? And he's like, well, why don't you just come down on a Saturday, like this Saturday or next Saturday? I'm like, yeah, hey, let me know. I go, what do you want me to play? He said, well, we're just going to try you out. Like, you know, I was like, what do you want me to play? And he's like, oh, he's got that. Yeah. yeah. I still have that seat. Thanks, E-Rock. He's like, I'm like, well, what do you want me to play? He's like, yeah, just show up. I'm like, okay. Well, back then I was on my Kid Capri thing. You know, Kid Capri was a huge influence on me. A huge Kid Capri, Flex, because I was all like, hip hop to me was more East Coast. Like I was always East Coast influence. So Kid Capri was like legendary, and I got to open and watch him play a couple times. So I mimicked him as much as I could. So I was on my Kid Capri thing then. So I brought like 6 crates to Raw. Because I didn't know I was only spending an hour. But even if
you didn't do the MC part of it.
No.
You loved the way they did the fast action mixing and all that.
I liked all that, but I didn't do the MC part of it because I felt that it was too much for me to tackle, and I had Bob.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah, I was like, why should I do this when I'm doing the radio? I got my man Bob. Bob has a great presence. Bob knows the songs. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, you can talk on the mic all you want. You can, hey, girl, blah, 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 all that. But the key thing that Bob had that nobody had, was that Bob was on the radio. So Bob knew all the songs. He knew the in and out.
He knew to say the word, what the crowd like.
Yeah, and he was hanging around me for the last 3 or 4 years because we worked at Costco together.
Whoa.
So we would, you know, he knew songs, and he said, Warren, you heard this, and he was young, and he was like, yo, this, and he had a great presence, and he, you know, had a great voice. He liked to talk. I was like, dude, this is perfect. And I eventually got Bob on KLUC because he was like perfect, you know, person.
Good personality.
Great personality. So the secret that no one understands is me and Bob knew each other like inside out, but there was a few things that happened for that. Bob knew every song in and out. He knew when to pull it out. He knew when to talk, He knew all that. But again, the other thing is, if you look at that picture, if you look closely, and this is another secret we had, there's 2 mixers.
Oh, yeah.
So I was on one mixer, and that mixer ran into
getting in the way, pulling down stuff when you're trying to do something.
Exactly. I was like, dude, here's your own mixer. You do whatever hell you want. You know this crowd.
House feed is going to you.
Yeah.
You got the whole control.
You cut out. You do whatever hell you want. And I remember,
and he knew not to step on the mixes.
He knew what. Yeah. He knew He knew when to step. He knew when to say. He would hit me and go, wait, stop, and I'd stop it because I'm like, he's paying attention. He knows what to do. Like, so he was, and that's the cool thing is, every night is either Bob was running the ship or I was running the ship. It didn't matter, like, because we were both in sync. But a lot of people don't realize, like, the 2 mixers, and then when Serato came along, I had 2 screens so he could see, because what he would do is he'd just look over my shoulder, he'd look at the label and see what I was playing, be like, okay, it's coming. So he'd set up the record. You know, and then when I Serato, he had to look, and he couldn't, you know, it's not visual. He can't just look at a picture and go, oh, that's that label. No, he'd have to look at it, read it, and try to figure it out. And he's still like on my shoulder. I said, I'm gonna get you a monitor.
Yeah.
So I got a monitor, and then eventually I got a monitor for the lighting guy. So I got 3 monitors, so he could see what everything was going on. So, yeah, that a lot of
I
people
remember coming in there and Billy or Dwayne or Stevie would walk me up to the stage and come hang out with y'all for a minute.
No, it was that was a really like that was a lot of
that was when the crowd for hip hop was great.
Yeah.
And they knew the words.
Yep.
It was
breaking.
the only place to hear that.
Yeah. It was breaking, and I remember we started doing a lot of raves. We were the hip hop DJ. We were the only ones playing hip hop at raves because people loved what we did. Because the key thing about Raw was not. It was a show. Like me and Bob. If you saw me and Bob were a show. Period. And we had it down.
Jerry Feifsky.
Yeah. See.
He's talking about both of us.
Yeah.
I was talking to Five. Oh, Five was on Twitch, and I gave him a shout out, and then he stops the music. Oh, that's my old boss, DJ Rob. He hired me at the Palms.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So yeah, Five has been. I much respect for Five. Much respect for Five.
Hopefully, he didn't miss when we talked about him a few minutes ago. He looks like he just jumped on.
But yeah, so it's Raw was really it was pinnacle. It was groundbreaking. Much respect to Dwayne and Billy. I got the best compliment ever as a DJ working at Raw. Jerome, the manager, came to me one night and he pulled me aside, and it was peak like 1:30. Place was packed, and he came to me and said, "You gotta start playing slow songs." I'm like, "Slow songs? What are you talking about? I'm not playing slow songs." He goes and started. Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Okay, he's like, "You gotta play a fucking slow song, a country song. I don't care what you fucking play, but you're gonna play one because we have a line outside all the way to the front of the line. We have to get these people out and those people in, or I'm shutting all this shit down. There's
crazy.
too many people here." And I was just like,
because as DJs, you didn't play a slow jam till it was closing doors.
Yeah, exactly.
You play a slow jam, it ruined
Not
the party.
at peak.
People stop drinking, people
Not
leave.
at peak, yeah.
So that's a different mentality. But then
I was
that's the business side starting to come in.
The business side, I was like, and I remember staring at him, and he was fuming, and I remember going, "Got you. I know exactly where you go." So I go back, I tell Bob. Bob was like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, there's so many people here." And then it clicked for him, like, "Oh, I see what's going on." So I played reggae. I had played reggae for 20 minutes, clear everyone out. That was the biggest compliment. Another compliment we got was Billy's girl at the time was like, on a Saturday, he's like, "I love when you guys go in." I was like, "Go on." She goes, "Because I can go to the bathroom." I'm like, "What are you talking about? When you guys go on, all the back hallways clear." He goes, "It's empty back here."
Because the dance floor is going.
Yeah. She goes, "It's empty. So I can go to the bathroom. There's no line in the bathroom. I can get a drink." Like, no, it's like, it's awesome. I just wait until you guys go on. I go, "Cool, let me go to the bathroom and go here." So yeah, it was, Raw was, I really, people always ask me, what was the best club experience? And Raw is, it's hard to say Excess over Raw. Excess was more, I had more notoriety, and it was, more of a bigger name and a better situation, I guess, or whatever, but more high end, more highbrow, of course. But Raw, man, I learned so much at Raw. So much at Raw.
Let's, I'm going to show this picture, and then we're going to talk about it, because this was huge. This was huge for all the DJs. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And if DJs, when you see this picture, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Bam.
Yeah.
So the hip hop stuff, the Raw, the
Yeah.
DJ, and then getting clever on the turntables live, doing mashups with acapellas, and then, let's start pressing them.
So we started, it was initially me, Dave, and Miracle, because Miracle had the production end of it, and me and Dave, we usually have the ideas.
Shout out to Dave.
Dave Fogg, my man.
Another Vegas talent.
So we started, we had the mashup idea, because the other thing that started happening is hip hop was such a bad word in Vegas that no one ever said it. They'd always say mashup. It was notorious. On the flyer, it'd say top 40 and mashup. And that always meant hip hop. Whenever I saw, oh, look, they play hip hop, but they never said it. I remember having a long talk with Paulie over at Win, and I remember him talking, "Yeah, we play mashup." I'm like, hip hop. You guys do play some hip hop, but you could never say that. So Dave had the idea to do the 9 Inch Nails with 50 Cent. They knocked it out. Him and Miracle knocked it out like in a day. I remember they called me and played over the phone, and I said, my only comment was, you need to go back and forth, because the mashup before then, they did the acapella with the instrumental loop, usually like an 8-bar loop for the instrumental, and it just ran through the whole thing. I said, no, you need to go back and forth and play like longer pieces. And I remember Miracle going, oh, I'm like, yeah, then it's more like this. So that's one of the things I'm most proud about the Inhumans is, if you look at all the mashups before us, it was usually a loop of the instrumental, and the acapella just ran through it. Every now and then they get clever during the hook, they change the instrumental.
And sometimes the phrasing just happened to be that it was always a 16-bar verse and an 8-bar chorus, and sometimes that vocal worked with that whole instrumental because of the way music is phrased.
Yeah.
Or just chop that. Oh, there's a double hook. We'll just chop that instrumental double hook.
But usually people were just doing it. They would just do it how they do it live.
Yeah.
And one of the notorious ones was Stretch Armstrong, and it got huge. Stretch Armstrong out of New York did "Hi, my name is Eminem" over AC/DC Black and Black.
Right. That was huge.
And I remember listening to it and going,
over and over, same repetitive
it's the
beat.
same. I was like, dude, there's a guitar breakdown. There's this. Like, you could have, and he didn't do any, but I got a huge.
If it went, let some of that in just to give it some variation, and, some peaks and valleys. Yeah, but
as a music producer, you hear it.
So and I did a few.
Yeah. So on the record, I was just like, dude, it needs to go back and forth, and that's when it clicked, and that's when we really started. If you were lucky enough to get that album, like the B side of that with War Pigs is really good. Like, that album was really good. Yeah, that album was. I was really proud of that album, and we.
Now you guys pressed those yourself.
We pressed it up.
Was this after you guys weren't you guys doing the Lethals or the rerun? You were doing one of those compilation vinyls.
DMS. I was with DMS doing that.
Okay.
And we did reruns. We did Fill in the Gap.
Fill in the Gaps. Those were the DJs.
Oh, those are
if we can go in the store and get 6 hits for the price of 1.5.
Yeah.
Every DJ had those. Those were lifesavers.
And
they get the intro. They got all the hottest songs.
And the labels loved it.
Because that was my next question. Legally, you guys were doing it because some of those other ones got shut down because they weren't getting the rights, or you had to play them without any trickery or any intros or any mashups or
no. So
didn't they stipulate that sometime?
So what was with legal? So legally, all this stuff is illegal. All this stuff is illegal. But what happens is, you have publishing, you have I'm gonna mess this up, but you have the marketing side and you have the legal side of the record company. The legal side was always like, yo, that you can't do that, that's illegal. The lawyers were always like, blah, 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 blah. But the artists all the way down in the marketing knew that, yo, let them do it because it explodes it. It's the classic argument is what P. Diddy did with Be Faithful. They wanted to shut down Be Faithful, but P. Diddy was like, yelled at Arista, like, what the F are you doing? Let this go because it's blowing up Faith Evans.
And it's going to make us play the original, maybe?
And they're going to buy the album. But what happens with record companies is lawyers get in the way because they want to boost their career, and they do it on the backs of these bootlegs and stuff like that. And I will say that maybe some people get carried away and maybe they're doing too much, but, honestly, the bread and butter of an artist is on the album. So you could do whatever you wanted with the single because it helped everyone out.
That was those were lifesavers. So
yeah.
And then, so when you said you were doing the vinyls and then you said DMS, but was DMS a pool yet, or is that what you just called it, DMS?
No. So Direct Music Service. So back when I was doing Raw, Kevin Scott came. And he was like, he used to come like as much as he could when he went Raw. So he'd come on Raw on Thursdays and watch me and Bob. He has some of the best recordings of me and Bob. And he would just basically, he got in trouble. Well, him and his other partner had a falling out. And he approached me and says, I want a partner that has knows record companies, knows like we can talk to record.
You're already dealing with them with
the I'm like, dude, I'm in. I'm in. So I basically helped him out and with DMS, and we went together with all that. And then we were I was helping them press out the vinyl. The same thing. I was just kind of more of a guidance of a thing. I'm more of a consultant, and he was pressing up. We were still pressing up the records, and then I started seeing the writing on the wall with MP3s. And I remember I knew I remember when I had to rethink everything is when I bought a Denon CD player for the radio station, because I started realizing that
Ain't gonna be no more vinyls.
yeah, and I was like, dude, I can get this record a week early. There's no record. They got the MP3.
It takes too long to manufacture.
Exactly. And I was like, and the record, I remember we did an interview with Mark Ronson for the Ooh-Wee record. Ooh-Wee. Yeah. So he came up to the station and he was asking me about my Denon player. And I remember telling him, like, I have all the newest stuff on this because they're not, I'm going to wait. So I'm way ahead of everyone because I'm mixing it here.
And that said record pool in your head at that point?
At that point, I was just like, this is all going to go away. I remember thinking, like, because I just remember thinking, like, this is all going to go away. And of course, Serato came, and I was like,
we're going to get into that.
Yeah, boom, there it is. But I remember thinking, like, CDs really make a lot of sense here in a minute. Like, this, and I remember CD players were getting better and better.
And the fact that we were getting MP3s, burning them onto the CDs
Yes.
to go to the club with 100 songs on one CD.
Yeah, I remember everything was like leaning that way. I remember house guys were already in the CDs. So I remember thinking like, oh, this vinyl stuff is not going to last. It's not going to be around. And I just remember, and when I bought the Denon CD player, I just remember thinking like, I'm going to have to watch this and see what happens.
So what was the year and what was the actual trigger point that, boom, DMS is now... Well, it's online, but it's a digital record pool, basically.
I think it was around the start of...
You should have all this log so when you write your book.
I know.
You're going to have to go back to this video
I'll call
when
you.
you write your book.
I'll call you.
The new War and Peace book.
It's all started when all these DJ crews happened. Sujit pre-Scam, just before Scam, but what was the one the AM was in? I forgot now. AM, Aoki, Kevin Scott.
They had one, and five of them had the
they were in one. Like, that was the one, and then Sujit came in after that. But
they took the name from the Sausage King from that movie.
They
Ape
did?
Roman Showman.
Oh no! That was just a group of those guys. But now I'm talking like the agencies, the DJ agencies, like Scam.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one before Scam. I forget. Aoki was in it. AM was in it.
Oh, that was called
E-Rock. I know. If you're still listening, give us the name of it. I can't remember.
Dexstar.
Yes.
As soon as you said E-Rock, and I went over here and I said, there it is.
Dexstar. So when Dexstar came in the picture, that's when I think we were like, I was like, we got to go digital. Because Serato was already big.
So it was have to be in 2004-ish because Serato was 2003.
Sounds about right. Mm-hmm. Sounds about right. Yeah, and I
remember Serato, the company, had made software. Pitch and Time was their first thing, and I was using that with my producing stuff. And then they made a thing because the producers wanted to scratch the audio files. So they made a software with your mouse. You should know. I don't know if you know this or not.
No.
But it was called Scratch Studio.
No.
Scratch Studio was their second invention after Pitch and Time, and you could take your audio file that was on the screen of your laptop, and you use your mouse, and it would go jugga, 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 and it would rub and downplay, or you could use a turntable, and they started pressing the vinyl, so you could use your turntable with your audio file, not as a DJ, just as a producer with that specific software.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and that was 2002. Then they said, Jesus, we put this time code on vinyl, we got to just go after the DJ market.
So I have a story about that. So I went the year after you guys, I can't remember the year before or after when you guys went to Miami. Mm-hmm. The Serato guys were in Miami.
Right. When we had represented all the clubs.
Yes,
for
So I can't remember.
Music seminar.
It wasn't the same time. It was a year before, a year after. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. So about 4 months before that, I talked to A-Track. We were doing something with A-Track and Hip Hop Site. I was telling A-Track, I said, I'm on Final Scratch, Tractor. And he was like, yeah, I've tried that out. He said, you got to try out this Australian company. It's called Serato. Mm-hmm. You got to see what they're doing. And I was like, okay. And I just wrote it down. A-Track endorses it. And I think the one thing I said, well, when you scratch, does it gargle or does it make a real sound? He goes, it makes a real sound. Like, oh, wow. So I remember being in Miami and Serato was there. And I remember AJ and I forget the original guys who were there. And I walked up to them. I remember waiting in line patiently, just waiting. And I find my line and it was playing. And I said, I just want to test one thing.
That's all I did. The same thing I did. All I want to do is do this. And I wanted to do
one thing.
Slow drag
and
see if it gargles.
That's all I want. And I said, real fast. I was like, oh damn, and I did it slow. I was like, oh, all right. And then I did a few things. I was like, oh, and the guy, not AJ, the other guy, Sam. Sam pulled me aside and said, hey, would you want to be a beta tester? I'm like, hell yeah. I go, dude, I have Tractor, I have this, I have the majority of my, and back then, so around that same time, I had bought a record collection from one of the big DJs in the Bay. E-Rock would know his name too. I remember saying his name, but I bought his whole CD collection for $1,000. And I was trading hard drives with R.O.B.s, SIS, M's.
We got stories about hard drives, and
I was trading hard drives with all these guys. And this was like pre. Like this is like I had Serato. A couple other people had it, but there were not that many people were using it.
But DJs knew, just like you knew with the CD player, that we have to start digitizing our stuff because either we need multiple stuff on a CD from the turntable, the needle goes back, because even at Rain, I had a CD player because I was making mashups. I wanted to play them right away. Or exclusive stuff that wasn't on vinyl yet, so I played the hot stuff on the CD player. I hated CD players, so I was rocking the vinyl, but if it was something hot, something new, or something that I made, had to be CDs. But that was 2001-ish, and I'm saying, it's coming. So I started digitizing. Twin started digitizing stuff. So we worked together, and we had 10,000, 15,000 songs of all the hot club stuff. And as all your reruns, which we didn't know, when you were making them, what you do with the digital file. I knew is I had to rip them from vinyl. We
have them.
I know, but back then where you weren't giving them.
No, we didn't, because it wasn't, never asked for it.
You didn't know you needed them.
So, and honestly, what I did is I just grabbed Ricky Lee. Ricky Lee from the Bay. He had all that stuff digitized already. So I just grabbed it. Another thing we did is we went to me and Kevin Scott went to Power 106 and we met up with Vice. And I showed AM Serato. I showed Vice Serato. I said, this is what it does. He's like, wow. And we went to Power 106 and we rated the Power 106 CD vault. That was a huge score. So what would happen is when Vice was on the radio, it was him and
they had all the promo CDs.
Everything. And he would just rip CDs into their thing, and then he'd email them or send me a hard drive. He'd send the hard drives back and forth. Yeah, he started ripping the Power 106 CD vault.
So that whole year, 2003-ish, that was the buzz. Everybody heard about Tractor, and it was a little sluggish. It wasn't as accurate as Serato. Everybody knew that. Yeah. And so the buzz was Serato. The buzz was Serato. Then Twins, I think I'm going to get Serato. I said, really? I'm so, I started DJing in 81. I am turntable, man.
Everyone.
I just 6 months ago bought those Rain MK2s. Because
I saw those,
I'm tired. I go to Lake Havasus, and I want to jump. And get them going, and boom, needle skipping. Or girls coming on with the booze, and they're dancing skip. Or I'm playing these venues where they got 20, 18-inch subs under the stage.
And you get to hum.
And I'm doing this. And there's too many variables that go wrong with turntables. As much as I loved them, I finally got tired of it.
Yeah.
And it's the best invention since Serato. And all the DJs come to me, what do you think? I said, I hate everything. I hate CDJs. I hate the controllers. They don't feel right. This is the first thing and I had the phase. I bought them day one.
Yeah.
You have to pre-plan too much stuff with the phase. You got to charge them. Oh, guess what? You got a long gig more than 4 hours. You're going to put one of them back on the charger. Oh, you got to calibrate them. Oh, they're iffy. You're in a room with a lot of interference.
Yeah.
You're going to lose that connection because it's wireless. 4 big variables that was just as bad as having the needle drama.
Yeah.
The Rain, turn them on, and I love them. But Rain better pay me.
I am complete opposite. After 2000, because I own a record store.
I just love that tension that you feel when the vinyl's got that platter underneath it.
I know that feel. But 2000, especially if you have a good slip mat. 2003, 2004, I can't remember, but I was like, F turntables. Like
that's what Hollywood did too.
I was like, man, forget all this. Like honestly, my setup, my go-to setup, I rarely use, but I love it, is the DJJ 400 that's like this big, and the SP1 controller. That's my setup.
That's your hot cues.
I'm like, I can do everything on this, and it's only this big.
I was just too.
I can put that into a backpack.
I was just too hardcore, and now
complete opposite.
I used them at the reunion.
I saw,
and Frankie's needles are going. He's over there licking his needles, and things are jumping because there's subwoofers in that stage. And I said, Frank, I ain't dealing with that no more.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Serato, because like I said, the buzzword of all 2000, Serato. And I'm like I said, naysay. I got to be vinyl. I'm not going to adapt to this digital thing yet.
Yeah.
And I'm walking in the store. You go, Rob, you ain't got Serato yet? I said, nah, I'm not feeling it yet. He goes, okay. He keeps warning me. And then I went to Pure. Late 2003, early 2004. Jazzy Jeff was on Serato. Even AM wasn't on it yet.
Yeah.
Because me and AM were friends. I was hiring him. He was at Rain. We're doing all our things together. And we were talking about it, but he said, I'm not making the jump yet. And Jazzy Jeff was rocking it. And I came to you the next day, and I said, I seen Jazzy Jeff. I'm getting
And I
Serato.
was so
and you said,
pissed.
I told you. You didn't want to listen to me. You had to see Jazzy Jeff. You don't trust me.
My feelings was so hurt, people.
Yeah.
I was like, what? But I'm telling you, everyone did that.
Yeah.
I have a video that night, the night with the Ronson picture on there. Sis, Spin Bad, rest in peace. Riz, I can't remember. We're all at Raw, and I was playing on Serato, and all of them were just like. And Sis would, like, during the middle of the set, he'd ask me questions. Like, well, what do you? And I said, yeah, you do this. Can I touch it? Yeah, go ahead, touch it. And after that, they were, like, sold. Like, that was it. But yeah, it was.
And my mind frame was just the music allocation.
Yes.
I wasn't worried about the loops yet and the hot cues and all the
Same
stuff
here.
that came with after the fact. But the fact, because I was rolling in the rain and the bellman was helping me.
Right.
I looked like an idiot. If Hollywood's got his pouch of CDs, you know.
Yeah,
have a
Hollywood
sandwich
early.
in the other hand.
Yeah.
I'm rolling in with 2 bell carts.
Yes.
With 5 stacks of records.
Yeah.
And I said, I could still do what I got to do. I have the vinyl feel.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is the answer. But then when you say, oh, I could loop this, I can get this going, I could have the hot cue, I could go jump right to this. And so I told AM, I said, Jazzy Jeff killed on Serato. I'm switching. He goes, really? I go, yeah. And so the same day, and he said, what laptop you getting? I said, I'm getting this MacBook Pro, blah, 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 blah. He got the same MacBook Pro the same day. He called me, said, I got it. I'm opening it up right now. And he came over to the crib because I said, I'm already ripping all the stuff, the Aviate stuff, the rerun stuff.
Yeah.
I got it ripped, and I had a studio, so I didn't have that whack rip. I had the digital out on the mixer, so I wasn't even coming analog out of the XLRs into the Pro Tools. Actually, it was Digital Performer at the time. I didn't even have Logic yet.
Okay.
Recording and I had my daughter there, and I was having her hit record while I was queuing up all the vinyl, no record needle drop, right to the first beat, truncating everything, and digitize all the hot shit. Because what happened was I had a gig in Chicago, and I said, I'm not just going to jump ship and go to Chicago and just do Serato. I'm not there yet. I was ripping tons of stuff. I was duplicating my crate in the order that, because you know your crate is your crate.
Yes.
So when I went to Chicago, and there's a video on YouTube of it, I go to Chicago and I bring half of a crate and half Serato. So I do half vinyl and half Serato. Because I wasn't all the way comfortable. But it was great.
Yeah.
It was a great way for me because I didn't want to jump all in
Right.
and something go wrong.
I totally agree.
So rock was vinyl at first, then switched to the digital vinyl with the hub, switched to inputs because the hub was in there, boom. And after I came back, I said, that's it. This works.
Yeah.
I got the feel of both.
Yep.
I was comfortable. I didn't jump all the way in.
Yeah.
Serato ever since.
Yeah.
And same with AM, and same with every DJ after that. you know?
Yeah.
But-
So yeah, it was yeah. So I was
Sorry I didn't listen to you.
dude, it's all good. I mean, I can definitely say that, like, you know, I introduced AM to Serato. I introduced a ton of DJs to Serato, and those guys introduced a lot of it. So, you know, I Serato owes me a check. But what's funny is now I'm on Rekordbox, so it's
That's yeah.
You know,
And
yeah.
And why, if I have to ask?
the organization. So if you look at the journey of Serato, they came from let's make this work and let's emulate vinyl as much as we can. And at the bottom of that journey is record organization. If you look at Rekordbox, they came from record organization and went up to, okay, let's make this work for vinyl emulation. So with that being said, the base and the core of Rekordbox is more about record organization. And I feel that is the coming, and I feel that, especially with all these genres, I feel that record organization is more important than, you know, it all works. Virtual DJ, blah, blah, all that stuff works. But record organization and AI and all that is more important right now than it is to whether it works or not. So
If
I've
you're
always
detailed with your crates, whether it's virtual or Serato or whatever, if you detail with your crates, isn't it still just organized to your liking?
I think that it comes down to DJ preference. Like when I DJ, so I tag everything. And if I'm DJing a pool party and I say, okay, I want a tribally pop house set.
As soon as you get the track, you say, oh, boom, tropical house, whatever.
I tag. I have like over 60 some odd tags, and I tag.
But Serato, I could do the same thing. I could sort those by those tags.
You can, so the sorting that's not what I'm saying. But when I'm DJing, I type in what the mood is, and then everything appears. And so I don't make a playlist. I don't DJ like that. I have a blank canvas. The way I like to say it is, if you're a cook, you're gonna come in, you're gonna follow a recipe and go boom, 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 this is it, and it's gonna be a great. You're gonna make a brilliant hamburger. I come in going, there's hamburger, there's some buns. Oh, you got potato chips. You got grease. Okay, let me put this together. So I come in with like a blank slate. A lot of DJs will make a playlist. I don't know what you do.
I don't make a playlist. I make crates
Yeah.
that are suitable when I want to jump to that format, jump to this genre, jump to this tempo. Organized crates.
So I have the crates, but a lot of time I'll just be freestyling, and I'll be like, okay, this is the mood. This is the mood, and this is the tempo I like. I go boom, 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 and it all pops up there, and then I can jump to other places. And it's just the library management to me in Rekordbox is far superior. And I was always on Pioneer gear. Yeah,
well, I love my Pioneer stuff. I can't believe I bought Rain turntables, and I'm so mad at Pioneer that they already had these R.O.B.s, the 500 and 1,000 turntables, and they're beasts. I had them for about 5 years. They should have jumped on that platter before Rain did.
I can see them doing it. It's just
I think they missed the boat.
Yeah, it's.
I went to NAMM 2 years in a row. Got the NAMM Thrax. And I asked them, why don't you guys have the turntable? You already did a turntable. It was a beefy 1200 feeling turntable. You got the technology with the controllers. You're only using that spindle information, but you got the motor.
I think there's a lot of, and I don't know this for a fact, and this is like just my take on this because I know both sides. There's a lot of influx power struggle in the Pioneer community because I feel that Japan is one thing and I feel America is another thing, and I feel that the influx between those two, and I think if you follow the board and you follow product, you can kind of see there's a lot of influx fighting. Everyone's trying to. We're Japan, we're America, and so I think there's a lot of stuff going there. I think eventually they'll get to it, but yeah.
Well, moving on from our tech geek talk. Me and Warren are both geeks.
Yeah, he's a Mac geek though.
Yeah, and me and Warren should have been the face of those commercials. I'm a Mac.
I'm a PC. Yeah,
but I can do Ecamm Live and stream live.
Yeah. But I can use what Ecamm is based off of, which is I can't even think of the name of it now.
See?
O.B.s.
I had O.B.s.
O.B.s.
Here's the problem with O.B.s.
Ecamm is built off O.B.s.
Basically, the code is in there, but O.B.s was always made as a PC program first. They ported it over to the Mac, but it's very klutzy on the Mac, and that's part of Intel's problem. That's part of Mac's problem.
Yeah,
it was a PC program.
Yeah,
ported over for Mac enthusiasts. Where this one's sorry geeks, sorry tech talk, but
no, I always
say, why do you have to hit start to shut down the computer? Doesn't make sense to me.
I've always been PC. I've always gotten shit for being a PC from other DJ. Like a DJ wouldn't even know. Justin Hoffman, classic Justin Hoffman story. I show up at Trist doing my demo and I bring out this Dell Alienware computer, like top of the line, brand new gaming computer, and Justin Hoffman points and starts laughing at me, and I got the job that night. So. That's how it went. But anyway, I always get crap from, and the thing I like to tell people is the bulk of the computers I get, I'm all sponsored. Like, I think this last year at the end of the pandemic was the first computer I actually had to buy. But like, I was sponsored by Razer.
Easier.
Well, it does, but it's and that's not why I went there. But it's just, I mean, the guys from Alienware showed up at XS one time and are like, yo, I built that. I have the blueprints for that. And then I hit him up. MSI, same thing. I was at Dre's and guys like that. I worked on that computer. So, but anyway, yeah, I bottom line, guys, is go with what you're comfortable with. Yeah. Me and Chris Cox have this, every 10 minutes his Mac overheats and I just sit there and laugh at him, or O.B.s goes wrong on his Mac and I just sit there and laugh at him. And I'm just like, go with what you're comfortable with, period.
Works for me.
After a while, you sound like Chevy and Ford. So whatever.
Yeah, I know. I got a Ford.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you pull up in a Tesla today?
I pulled up in Tesla.
Look at this man.
I've had a Tesla for a while.
He's a geek.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot of tech geek stuff. Sorry about that for you fans of music and DJs and nightlife.
Well,
stuff.
dude, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What's your story?
We'll trade seats.
Yeah. What is your story? Like what? I remember you. The first time I didn't know what high school you went to until about 30 minutes ago. You said you went to El Dorado. You played drums at El Dorado. So were you a Vegas local? Were you always here?
I moved here in '76, so most people say, "Oh, you're native," but not born and raised. I was born in Victorville, California.
Oh, wow!
I'm a base brat. So Pops was in the Air Force. George Air Force Base, which shut down, was in Victorville, California. So it's basically San Bernardino County, Riverside. Victorville is just a little stopping point.
Yeah.
Most of the big hospitals, you're born in San Bernardino or you're born on the base. But lucky for me, because that small town syndrome, all my friends from kindergarten to third grade or whatever, fourth grade, dead or in jail. That's Riverside's crystal meth capital. It's that. So I would have never gotten to music or been in this entertainment world living in Victorville. Luckily, when I was 10, he got stationed in Nellis, moved on base.
To El Dorado, I can see that, yeah.
And Del H for junior high, El Dorado. Always in music. I was buying 45s at a place called Pop's Record Store in Victorville. That's when I was telling you about 1974, 75. So we moved here in 76. So music... Vegas, 1976.
How did you link up with Frankie, 88.1, all that?
Mm-hmm. If you watched episode 1.
I'm sorry.
We covered all that. We went way back to how we met, and it's funny because I thought I was the ish. I thought I was the shit. I was DJing. I was the white Italian guy playing the urban music and the hip hop and the rap and the dance music and the West Coast stuff and the funk. That was my thing. DJing the dances at the schools, the house parties, the mixtapes, the backyard parties for my friend, which we talked about, where we thought 20 people were going to be there. And it was like the cool Herc thing. The DJ shows up. There's 200 people here. His dad screaming at him, "Get these people out of here."
Right.
So I thought I was the man doing that. And then I hear this guy come on the radio promoting this mix show, and he's playing all this play at your own risk and Tommy Boy stuff and cool East Coast stuff, and then he talks about himself. So I'm originally from New York. I just moved out here, and here's my mix show where I'm introducing some of the dance music from New York, and hopefully you guys like it. I called him up. I said, "Hey, I'm white," and he's a drummer too. I said, "I'm white, Italian. I'm a drummer. I'm a DJ. We need to link up." He said, "Okay." Right. He says, "Come to my club one night," and he probably thinks I'm just some scrub, trying to get on the bandwagon.
Yeah. This is a Chris Cox story for me, but go ahead.
Yeah. And so I'm making mixtapes. So my sister goes to the club he's working at, which was the brewery. I was underage, of course. She gives him the cassette and said, "Oh, my brother talked to you on the radio. Here's a cassette." He throws it in the car and doesn't listen to it, but he tells a story one day. Him and his girl are washing the car, and he pops this cassette in, and he says, "Oh, this is that Houdini song, and I usually go into this," and he thinks it's this, and then it goes into somewhere else, and he goes, "Oh, that was dope, but I don't usually do that." And then the next song, "Oh, it's the Smurf, Tyrone. Oh, that's dope. I don't do that." He goes, "Well, whose tape is this?" "That's that kid's tape, DJ R.O.B.s." Wow. So he hits me up and says, "Yeah, you need to come to the city. Yeah,
nice.
You got some skills." Next thing you know, we're doing promotion together, working together for 40 years. But it was a good little combo click because he was from the East Coast. Yeah. So when I was doing the funk, and my grandparents lived in San Francisco, so I was in the Bay Area every summer. And the Bay,
that's
I
where
would
you
go
were
to
soaking it in.
I went to the San Francisco just to hear the music on KMEL and KSOL, and buy the records at all the record stores. And I was introducing Wrecking Crews and Surgeries and Ice-T stuff and all that West Coast stuff that Frankie didn't know nothing about. So when we were doing the teen club, it was the best of both worlds. Vegas was a melting pot.
Yes.
So you had your East Coast people, and you were playing everything in every genre, and that's what made it dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's fun. I think that when you were talking about that, I think the key person that actually was very influential in my very early days, before Pizzo, before Dave and all that, was Rory. Rory Mack, I think, was because Rory Mack is the one that told me who you guys were and like your story. He's the one that made me go, "Oh, okay, they're just not Vegas guys. Like these guys are legit, And Rory's like, "Yeah, I work with them. I'm doing the thing of the park." Rory's always doing his thing and with the record label thing. He was more invested in that,
and that's why he ended up in Vegas. He was an Air Force brat.
I didn't know that.
So I didn't know that. He moved to Vegas and he heard about us. He came in about 84, 85. We were already doing our thing. And we met him, and I said, "Oh, this guy's dope. He's got a whole different style."
Yes.
And he was doing the house, but he knew this hip hop, and he knew the old break beats. He knew more break beat stuff. And so when we play White Lines, he goes, "Oh, that's Liquid Caverns." I said, "What are you talking about?" And he'd pull out the record, and this doo-doom, doo-doom, doo-doom.
Yeah.
Or the big beat is from Here We Go by Billy Squier, and he knew all that stuff. Dope. We were just hip hop and dance music heads. We didn't get deep into who sampled what yet. Yeah. We didn't do that yet, but he was into that. And then we started a crew with him because he had that different style.
Yes.
We did the Street Beat crew, which was me, him, and Frankie, and
Yeah.
an MC, and that's what everybody was doing. You had to have the DJs and the MC to rock
Yeah.
the party, you know?
It's always cool to see how like everyone's pulling from different genres and different things. Like it's basically the same. No matter what city you go to, it seems to be like the same story. I got this influence from New York, and I pulled from here. You went to the Bay Area and pulled it from here. Frankie
what
was
makes
from New
the
York.
gumbo good.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Yeah. And so,
Got to have those
and
ingredients.
Rory and old Chicago stories. Oh my God, like everything was just like. But yeah, just thinking about now, I think Rory's was the glue that kind of, because I heard about you, but it wasn't like, yeah, I heard, and I didn't know what you were doing. But I think Rory's the one that was like, yeah, no, these guys, yada yada, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yep. So, is there any other, you want to interview me some more? Or are we going to move on?
Well,
No, because I'm always producing, directing, and that's great if you have any questions.
No,
because
I just
lot
never
of
knew your
people don't know
backstory.
that,
Yeah,
probably.
I never knew your backstory. I was always curious. Never knew your backstory. And then like Chris told me, you were playing drums, and I was like, what? He goes, Chris, we were producing something one day. He's like, Rob is a really good drummer, and I was like, Rob? He's like, dude, Rob is a really good drummer.
I'm an on-beat drummer. There's pocket drummers. They call pocket drummers. I'm a pocket because drumming was my, introduction into music.
Yeah.
But then when you DJ and you go back to drum, you say, man, you got to be on beat. It's just like you don't flam when you're mixing.
Right.
Don't flam when
So
you're
you're
playing
on
drum.
the yeah.
So when I was drumming, I was playing on top of music. So when I started DJing, it was a natural.
Right.
Because I knew I had to be on the beat. I knew a lot of DJs, when you teach them, they don't know if that clap is behind. I know I'm supposed to adjust it, but I don't know if that clap's
Right.
ahead of the beat or
Is it
behind
one
the
behind
beat.
me? Yeah, yeah.
But when you're drumming, you know.
You have to know.
how to adjust. So when
Yeah.
I started DJing, it was a natural thing. So everybody knows that DJs who were prior musicians, whether it was a bass, guitar, or drummer, or sax player,
Yeah.
they know that musical phrasing.
Yeah.
That makes it a natural.
Yeah.
But I'm not no Neil Peart. I'm not no crazy,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oyster or anything
No,
like
I
that.
just remember.
But I'm a pocket guy, and I sold my drums when I graduated to the kid underneath me, and I never looked back because I was already DJing the high school dances. I didn't think the drums were going to make me no
Right,
money.
right.
So I didn't look at a drum set again for 30 years until I told you the story
The story about-
I
yeah.
said I bought the drum set for no reason. We told this story when it was, and I got these musicians that are great.
Yeah.
And we did a little 3-year stint where I did the Aliante and the Silverton and the MGM. I want you to see some of the footage that you haven't seen, but we'll get into that after the show because you'll appreciate that. But Chris Cox always gives me shout outs and credits.
Yeah,
And Chris Cox is instrumental in Vegas.
Chris Cox was so my Chris Cox story. So when I got to UNLV and I heard he was on Power 97, and I think it was Power 97, and they had that live remote from what used to be Furs Cafe. What was that?
Oh, they changed that name.
Yeah, there was whatever that club was where the old Furs was on Tropicana.
Glow.
No,
call it
before
Glow?
Glow.
Before Glow.
Before Glow.
It was called something else.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was some weird name.
But I would hear the live remote, and this is like 87, 88. And
Mets? Or was that Utopia?
no, that's Mets was Utopia.
Yeah.
So he was playing, and I would hear he'd play a song. So you hear a song, I'm like, okay, that's that song, and then he played another song, like, ooh, that's a good one, that's this song, and then out of nowhere he'd have the It Takes Two, woo loop, and I was like, I remember when I first heard that, I jumped out of bed going, how the F? This guy's playing a pre-recorded. This guy is faking it. Like, this guy's faking it. No. So it was a mission. I got a fake ID. I had a buddy of mine steal an ID from a 24-hour fitness. You had to give an ID for a towel. Yep. He said, this guy looks just like you. Didn't look like me, but it passed. Gave me an ID. I went in and I parked my ass right behind the DJ booth and watched them. And I said, okay, here comes the moment. Here comes the moment. And sure enough, I heard the Yahoo, and I looked over his shoulder, and I said, oh, this guy's got a sampler.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Well, remember the mixers used to have the samplers in them?
Yeah. But he had a keyboard sampler. Like, he had a little floppy disk. And I remember my head was like, oh, who is this guy? Like, so after that, we met, and we were cool. But, yeah.
We're going to get into one of my favorite stories.
Okay.
The Tupac story.
All right.
But I wanted to show some people that we worked New Year's Eve, 1992, in the Funk Factory. This was 2655 Frankie's Club.
Yeah, I remember that.
We did 4 or 5 big events together back then. I got the flyers here, but it says DJs R.O.B., Warm Peas, Create, of course, Cochise. Remember those guys?
Yeah,
Those were the good old days. Was that the best time to be DJing?
I think I don't want to say it's the best time.
But it was an organic time.
Oh, it was. My best time was always the raw time, the bad boy years. I love those years. But this year, I mean, that was really cool. That was the most organic. You know, people showed up to have a good time, to listen to the music. You know, honestly, nowadays, any time before phones is the best time to DJ.
And then you DJ, and they put the phone screen too. Can you play this?
Dude, phones,
this is,
man.
Me and you in the main room at Shark Club. Look at that, DJ R.O.B.
You know what, yo? You know what was really, really instrumental and pre-raw is when you and Frankie had us in the small room at Mets.
Yeah.
The long-haired guy was the promoter.
Called Lava Room.
Yes.
Yeah, we showed some of those flyers.
Yeah, dude, that
with Bubby.
I think you guys were in the main room. We were in the small room playing hip hop, and that's how Bob got started. That was the first time Bob like warmed up his chops there. Yeah, but that club was really instrumental in my career. Thank you for that. Like that was really dope.
That was probably Frankie's doing because they were already doing new wave and random stuff in that room, and they said, well, why don't we do some urban stuff and some hip hop because everybody that was the stuff, you know.
Yeah, it was.
I got some flyers where you're in there in the lava room. We showed those flyers on one of the other episodes. I said,
dude, that was. I mean, I rarely talk about it, but that was.
But I like those times. I mean, my 10 years at Rain. That's that big corporate mega club stuff. But you're showing up, you're working.
Yeah.
But those other days in the 90s, when people respected the DJ.
Yeah.
Now they just come to the club. They expect to hear good music, but they don't care what you're doing, how you're doing it. When I used to DJ and do the tricks, it was like a break dancer in a circle. If you've seen the old That's Entertainment footage, there was circles of people around the booth. And if I did a trick or I did a power stop and a scratch or repeated it 3 times, everybody would go, oh, just like a guy did a head spin.
Yeah.
Now it's so second nature there. It's just... They expect it now. Oh, the DJ's dope. He's doing the tricks. He's doing the scratching. Or they don't know if they're doing the tricks because sometimes they're on record or pre-recorded CD with a remix. But that was more organic to me. So when I say heydays, that's what I mean by that.
Well, I mean, I think the days before technology were really great because you, as a DJ, you had to work. You had to go you had to be a fan. You had to be a music fan. And you had to be willing to go broke and be late on your rent. Me and you both talk about traveling to LA to get records.
Digging was fun.
You had to be, and nowadays, you know, it's just when technology.
And that was the thing we always thought Serato was a downfall because the kid got the instant record collection, 10,000, 20,000 songs from his brother or friend or cousin or mama who was a DJ. And they had no skills. They had no reference of what those records were, when they came out, why they were hot. They just got them and they instant DJ, add water and stir.
But again, add water, stir. But again, like, I mean, Questlove said it best. When technology meets art, that's usually when it goes. I mean, you can say it with photography. You can say it with DJing. You can say it with grammar, with things like spell check and Grammarly. Yeah, you know.
One exception, Kraftwerk.
Yes, I'll give you that. You love some craft. You and Schecter, boy, love Kraftwerk. But on the flip side, I mean, now you can bring every record in the world you want to a gig. Now my back doesn't hurt. You know, you can still get really, really creative. The only sad part is now you're just competing with the phone. Like if you go to any nightclub now, and I'm not talking about a young nightclub, I'm not talking like the old school night. No. Everyone's dancing with their phone. So you're now competing in social media. So your attention span is now 20 seconds, 30 seconds, you know? I'm
glad I'm not in the major clubs.
Yeah, same here.
I don't like coming home late. And everybody's about who they're with, who they're looking at. Look where I'm at. The social media thing is... I
honestly think the second best wave is when you talk about Rain and when I was at Excess. I really believe because the phones weren't all that yet. And the genres were coming. Everyone was used to Serato, so you could be as super creative with technology, and you had as many records as you wanted. So for a DJ, to me, that was the second best wave because you had everything. And then the phones came into play, and then everyone started realizing that they could be a DJ too. And then it kind of went downhill.
So we've been on for an hour, 20 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah.
Are you guys still no one's sleeping yet? I would have turned off
No. And what's good about this is on forever, so you can go back and watch it if you missed it or you fell asleep and you want to see the second half. 2 more. There's a lot of topics we wanted to cover. Okay. We might have part 2.
We can run through it. Whatever.
I want to hear the Tupac story, and I want people to realize this inclination we had, and it happened to us way prior to what happened to you, where we seen this East Coast West Coast beef happening underlying in the subconscious of hip hop. We told the story in one of the episodes of Run DMC was on the same bill as LA Dream Team.
Yep.
Frankie announced to everybody at the Mr. G, say, hey, we're going to give a shout out to Run DMC and Jam Master Jay in the building, and along with LA Dream Team. And then Jam Master Jay, who we understood was a great guy for people who knew him, but he said straight out, man, don't put that West Coast whack artist on the same sentence with us. And Frank was like, wow. And we were saying, oh, the East Coast doesn't like that West Coast vibe. But your story is so, like,
yeah, so but to add on to that, I always saw that because my cousins were in New York, and I'd always talk to them and always try to get the vibe. But and being on radio, I remember my best quote was, if Ludacris was from New York, he'd be as big as Jay-Z, because New York was always about New York. Remember, like, you came out of New York.
If it wasn't New York.
Oh, it was New York was about New York. Like, they didn't care where you're from. Even Common, if Common was from New York, he'd be Jay-Z. Like, New York was New York. And representing. So I kind of saw that. But with the whole Tupac story is, so I was playing at 662, which was botany /
everything else.
Yeah, well, there was something else. It was
501. Oh, no.
It was it 5? No, it wasn't 51.
No, it wasn't 51. It was called a few things.
Anyway, it was Botany's, had the Fish Tank Club, and they still had the Fish Tank one, 662. So it was 662, and it was only open during fights. And at that time, I was doing street promotion for Death Row, so I was the DJ. So I remember playing, and I was playing the songs, just warming them up and everything. And then the hottest record at that time was Total, Can't You See? That's why. Real quick, that's why I always
rap on there?
I always thought the Bad Boy years were the best for DJing and hip hop, because that they brought up the ladies. You got good at that little New Yorky kind of vibe, and girls would show up, and you saw it with what Dre did, how he shined up hip hop a little bit. That was all the Bad Boy years. Like, that whole years was really good for hip hop because women showed up. Before that, you had a bunch of kids with backpacks. Women ain't
running to the floor to hear, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
aggressive slam by Onyx. They ain't dancing.
It's not. Yeah, it's just not happening. But Puffy kind of like, anyway. So the biggest song at the club at that time was Total, Can't You See? And I had 2 copies ready. Like, it was hard to get 2 copies of that record. I had 2 copies ready to go, and I knew I was just pacing it. And I played it, dun, 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 give me all the chicken heads. Dance floor was like, whoa. Like, it was just like full of what would now be called Instagram models wearing nothing, tons of hookers. Deion Sanders was there. Like, every celebrity was like.
At this point, you didn't know that Tupac and Suge and everybody were there?
No.
Didn't they tell you they were coming, or it's their club? You figured they're coming.
Yeah, well, I figured they'd be there, but they, I was like, well, it's now time to play the record. Let me play the damn record. So I played the record. Whoa! It came. People going crazy, and then here come Tupac. I don't think he had a shirt on. I could be wrong, but here comes Tupac. Yeah, he was wearing a wife beater. Here comes Tupac. It comes around the DJ booth, and he says, "Excuse me," and he just kind of pushed me aside, and everyone's like, "Now
maybe he's gonna rock the mic while you."
Now, keep in mind, I'm not a huge Tupac fan. I am so East Coast, it's pitiful. I'm not really a big I'm not a big West Coast fan. I just wasn't into all that. But I knew Tupac, but I wasn't a big Tupac fan at all. So he came around. I was like, "Who this?" Oh, I think. And Bob was like, "That's Tupac," and everyone's kind of following. Like, this is evidently someone important. So he comes over. He's kind of short. He comes over, pushes me aside, and he pulls off one of the records. Just doubles. Wrong record. Music doesn't stop. Pulls me aside, pulls off the record. Music stops. Everyone in the crowd, boo! Nigga, what up? Why you stopped the record? Because, dude, the club was like, everyone was like, what the hell? Like, everybody. Why'd you stop the record? Nigga, you whack. Blah, 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 blah. That shit is whack. What? Put the record back on. Blah, 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 blah. Tupac's like, give me the mic, because I'm like, and Tupac Jones' mic is like, fuck this is West Coast, nigga, this is West Coast. We want to play West Coast. And I remember looking at the crowd, and they all went,
bandwagon time.
Oh, yeah, nigga, you right, though. Yeah. I was like, I remember, I'll never, ever.
Change on a dime.
I'll never, ever, to this day, forget the crowd, how they wanted to throw me out of the club. But when Tupac stamped it, They're like, yeah, you're right, yeah. And I was just like, I remember just going, "Are you guys killing? You guys are serious right now." Like, and anyway, I put on E40, either Sprinkle Me or some E40. Because the reason I put E40, because all my records are in BPM order, and E40 was 88 BPM was the first one I saw. I was like,
Okay.
just throw it on. And I put E40 on, and I remember the momentum went down. Like, he left. He was cool. And I remember my boy Larry Lair brought me the record back because he threw the record out in the crowd. He brought me the record. So I still have that record, the broken record. He
Put it in a frame.
I
put a bandana on
I
it.
should. Or knowing me, I'd sell it. But so he gave me, Larry Lair gave me back the records. And I remember looking at Bob going, I was like, what the, like, I had this. Mm-hmm. So I remember going through the crate going, Lauryn Hill, Bob. I don't know. I was like, okay, no Lauryn Hill, no Nas, no. I remember, like, I had to basically cut the crate in half. And I took everything out and pushed it to the back because I was like, I don't want to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
And I
became a West Coast party.
Yeah, and it became a West Coast party. I played a bunch of Dog Pound because I was a huge Dog Pound fan. And I remember to this day, people are like, man, you should have known that. I'm like, how? Like, I'm on the radio. I talk to record companies all the time. No one, and this was before the obvious, you know, this is before the obvious happens. Like, this is way before all that. So I never knew. And after that, I was like, all right, whatever. And I did the next one where Tupac got shot. And I remember I was so mad because Suge and Tupac didn't show up, and I was prepared.
And you didn't know why until later.
I was like, I remember driving by because they closed the club early. They wouldn't tell us why. And I remember driving by that corner and seeing it. And I remember Bob was like, man, these stupid motherfuckers got drunk and wrecked the car. And we went straight. I remember we went straight to the Shark Club because Foxy Brown was performing, and Bob had a crush on Foxy Brown. So we were like, we gotta go see Foxy Brown.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. One thing that a lot of people don't know with all your endeavors, we did a whole little thing on DJ M. He was your friend. He was my friend. He was inspirational to all the DJs, of course, the passing away. And then somebody had the bright idea, let's get this movie going. Let's document his story.
Yep.
And so you guys, Warren was the executive producer on that. So how did that happen? And that's probably going to be where we're ending because we're long, but I wanted to fit that in.
Yeah, sure. So Kevin Scott was, and we didn't even talk about XS, but I mean, XS was a great nightclub. Had a good time.
We'll go into XS because that's after this anyway.
Okay, cool.
So we'll do that.
So Kevin Scott at the time, he was the owner of DMS, and he and AM were huge friends, like major friends. When AM, they were actually trying to make AM, they're trying to make AM mixes into a mixtape, and it was Kevin Scott's job to coordinate the mixtape with all the record companies and say, you know, this is this. So it was his job to do that. And of course, it never got covered because you couldn't do PYT with Guns N' Roses. Like, the lawyers just, got way overwhelmed. And anyway, so those two guys got really, really, really close. And I remember Kevin telling me, like, we're working on this movie. And, would you like to executive produce? Like, you knew him, you were pretty integral during this time. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Let's do it. Like, I think his story needs to be told. And one of the key things that, and I mean, you were there. Like, Like, a lot of people don't realize you work with the dude side by side almost every damn weekend. Like, you were there. So, and
the beauty of the technology of the phones, when you're talking about doing mixtape, there was enough video footage of him at all his shows that this was a natural.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that, it came, they asked me if I want to be a part of it. I said, of course. And the rest is history. It's a great movie. I think AM was one of the first DJ non-house rock stars. As far as DJs, like, he's the one that set the example to have the high praise DJ. He arguably he's the one that allowed me to, tour Australia for a month and get paid well. I'm sure a few of your Chicago gigs or whatever were DJ inspired because of AM.
The fact that he was at my venue. And
you
guys were kind of a team. If we can't get AM, can we get you?
Yeah, exactly. So so it's I really, and again, like, I'll never forget. Dave took me to see AM at Babies.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we didn't say hi, nothing. And Dave knew, same DJ booth. Dave knew AM, and we didn't say hi. We went straight back to the back corner bar, and we just stood there like two old Muppets. And all we did is just like, you've done it. Like, you're just a DJ critique. You're critiquing everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting in the corner sipping on something, and I'm just like critiquing everything. And he started scratching. And I was like, wow, I've never heard anybody use scratching that way. And you probably know this too. Like, when he scratched, it added, power and momentum, keyword.
He did it in the right spots.
It added momentum. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he could like scratch his way to build momentum.
And he scratched his way into a transition. I remember when he do that, and it would be his transition out.
Yeah.
By scratching the last word of the phrase of this. That was dope.
I was like, oh, like a lot of guys scratch and they have a show about it, and that's cool. But I've never seen anyone use it as momentum to build on a set, and I was blown away. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And then he's playing shook ones into 80s cut into there. I'm like, oh, he's DJing with the momentum and feel of the song. He's not sticking to genre. Mm-hmm. So as a DJ, you usually stick to BPM or genre. That's usually how you go, because it's a great, easy roadmap. He was sticking with BPM, but he was jumping to different genres and would pull different BPMs and scratch to add the momentum that was missing if you jump from a high BPM to a low PM. And he would do it wonderfully. And the timing was great. No one's timing is as good as melody, but the timing was great. The shit was perfect. And I remember going home at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and practice scratching, waking up my wife. She goes, what are you doing? I just saw this DJ. He's just making, and not that many people have made me go home and practice scratching. And I went home, turned everything on, I was scratching, because I was like, this guy's scratching is insanely, like, I've never seen it used this way. And so did you get to go on the tour when you did the previews of the movie and the feedback and the accolades that the movie documentary got? Kevin, that was more Kevin's thing. I came in more towards the tail end when they wanted some more footage and they wanted to make it a bigger thing. I was a pretty integral part in putting together the Vegas premiere, like calling people getting people together for that. I was definitely more behind the scenes than anything, but I just felt his story needed to be told. Kevin gave me an opportunity. Kevin Kerslake was the producer, and Kevin Scott was I think he was assistant producer. Yeah. But both of Kevin's approached me, and I just wanted I felt his story needed to be told, and I was happy to help out for it being told.
Yeah. That was dope, and it comes on reruns all the time still. On
no, it's a great thing. It's a really cool thing.
DJs should see that.
Yeah.
Not only for the DJ side, but the downside of the path he took
of addiction.
You hear the story all the time with artists and now DJs, and traumatic things happen and they can't get out of that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other subject.
You know what's funny is the week before is not funny, but the week before he was DJing. No.
I'll tell you the story.
The week before he started doing Banana Split, me and Dave were at XS. And I texted him. I was like, you really have to see what me and Dave are doing over here. Because when me and Dave opened up XS, we were like, yo, we have to, I got to come back, because I didn't even talk about Let the Record Show. But
yeah, no, I had that in the thing. But XS is probably your biggest residency.
Yeah. So when we were at XS, we were doing house, and no other venue in Vegas was ever doing house in the main room as a main nightclub. Special nights, yada yada, but as a main. So we said we're doing all house, and we were doing all house, and it was working. And the only reason it was working is because me and Dave had this mix show on KLUC. So we had practiced this like 5 months prior. Like, we had everything. We knew what worked. We knew what got the crowd. We knew we had the Pitbull version of the house song. We had all the bootlegs, everything. So we knew how to make it work. So we were making this shit work, and it was working. And when in XS was such a great club, because it brought so many foreigners, so we knew we could make this work. So sure enough, we made it work. And I remember texting AM going, dude, you need to come over here and see what me and Dave were doing. He was like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, dude, this is my main rotation. I said, Fetty Legrand this, blah blah blah, Afrojack this, like, this is my main shit. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. And I remember people would come in that nightclub, and good friends of mine, I really don't want to call out the names, but good friends of mine be like, I don't understand why you're playing this. Like, this makes sense. Because everyone was copying AM style. And I was like, I don't want to copy AM style. This is what I've been listening to a lot of BBC. I like this. And I remember Melody, D, one of my idols, told me one day, he was like, dude, my wife and her friends came and heard you spin, and they were here all night. And I woke her up, and I was like, what did he play? You know, DJ, you know, wife, girlfriend goes someplace, and you're like, what did he play? You know? And she was like, I don't know. But it was the best shit I've ever heard. And he was like, he kept grilling her. No, what did he play? And he was just like, I don't know. It was so good though. And I remember he said, I had to come the next weekend. And I was like, what the fuck are you playing? And he goes, sure enough, a month later, we're all doing what you're doing. And I was like,
you had the luxury of having a luxurious club.
Totally.
That had a more culture. Maybe any other club, if you would have attempted that, it might not have worked.
No, it was
you
new.
were getting that cultured European, Asian audience that's open-minded.
Yes.
And it was the perfect storm.
Perfect.
You know, so
perfect.
good for
Yeah,
you
no,
on
that's,
that.
yeah, it was, and I remember sitting at Dave's house and talking to him going, yo, this will work. It's when we'll get y'all Europeans like this.
As soon as you banned and so, well, maybe we should play 15 minutes of hip hop. No, you got to stick to it.
We got in trouble. We got in trouble for playing too much house. I'll never forget that.
By who?
Victor.
Oh.
Victor came up and go, you have to play more hip hop. And I remember going, yes! Like, we made it. Like, he's telling us to play hip hop. Like,
it was all the way around.
Yeah, it was so inviting. It was awesome.
That's it.
Yeah.
So Excess was the hot spot for a while.
That was, for a long time.
Then Dre's, and then you said you don't want to be the 50-year-old in the club.
Yeah, Dre's came along. I said, I want to be the 50-year-old in the club. I started Rivka hired me for a corporate, and they effed up and paid me the same amount that they're paying me to spend in the club, which was like, oh, no, we can't do this. Because when I went to Dre's, I got a huge salary bump. And they're like, no, we can't do this. And they called me and said, well, we have to pay you less. I'm like, you can't call me the day of a gig and say you pay me less. You know, my business sense was heavy at that time. I was like, you can't do this. And they're like, well, you know, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that's your fault. I go, you know, corporates, like, dude, a corporate at a club like Dre's or MGM, the starting point is $120K. So I was like telling him, like, yo, just bump up the rolls by $1, add a fee to the bottom saying sound fee, like whatever. You guys do this all the time. And
corporations are using this as a write-off. They're not going to squab because you're paying $2,000 to the DJ.
The real money in nightclubs is from corporate gigs.
Hello.
Period.
Or not even nightclubs, in ballrooms. And
dude, it's corporate.
I'm playing Raider Stadium next Friday, and I played it a few weeks ago.
And it's a corporate, right?
Yeah, corporate. Yeah. It's the greatest thing.
It's the corporate. That's the real money in this whole shit. And if you don't have a foot in corporate, then you're not really doing it.
You got to be, we talked about, you can't just be Mr. D. I'm at the club. I could do a corporate. You got to be reliable. You got to be professional.
You got to be open-minded. You got to be Mr. Solutions.
It's a whole new world, but it's a great world.
Yeah, you know how many times the guy said, "Okay, we want you to play dinner, but we want to play at this. So as soon as they're done with dinner, we're gonna move you up there." And the guy's like, "We don't have 2 setups." I'm like, "Don't worry about it. You know, you got to be Mr. Solutions. You have to have There's no problems in your department. They hire you, it's done." You know,
they want you to be the voice of God. Can you make an announcement and read off of it? No problem.
Yeah, and that's not even part of it. And it's a long ass. You ever get those long scripts? You're like, oh my,
pronunciation right. You say the president of the company's name wrong. So I say, can you please spell this the way it's supposed to be said?
Yes.
Because the way it's spelled is Susisom, and it's probably Susisom. You know, whatever it is.
Dude. Oh my God! But you have to do that. Like that is your role. But anyway, yeah. So I started. I got out of that. Started doing corporates just as the phones started coming in. Thank God. And corporates are great because people aren't on their phones, and older people aren't on their phones in the club, which is awesome.
So that's why we said our message to the people who are in our shoes or getting out of them shoes is, you know, people like me and you, we reinvented. I got tons of endeavors between my studio stuff, I'm doing the video stuff, the corporate stuff, the promotions, but reinvent and pivot.
Yes, pivot.
So is that your message to the guys?
Always reinvent. You always have to pivot. You always have to look forward. You always have to see what's happening. Best advice I ever got from a buddy of mine whose family owned the video store. And I'll never forget this. He was half drunk when he said it. His name is Drew Pierce. He works for DMS. And he said, and I'll look at the camera as he said it. He said, dude, you just got to be able to read the future. And I remember looking at him going, and he goes, not read the future, but you got to be able to read the future. And I couldn't sleep that night because it kept resonating in my head over and over. And he's right. You got to look forward. You got to see what's about to happen. That's why, real quick, that's why me and Pizzo did Let the Record Show. That's why we did that. If you go to YouTube, there's a series called Let the Record Show. And Let the Record Show is, we're basically interviewing artists. And awesome. Let the Record Show, we interviewed artists, but we let the artists talk about the record that influenced them. Like if I was going to talk to you and say, what record did you hear and go, oh, damn, I need to do this. What was the record for you?
DJing?
DJing, yes. What record influenced you the most? You're like, oh, I need to rethink my whole life now.
Oh, God. There's no.
Give me one of five.
When I heard Planet Rock.
Planet Rock. My man, Planet Rock. That was me.
I was already fiddling with buying the records and DJing, but when I heard that,
Planet
I said,
Rock.
man, this is a whole new world.
Yes.
I already was digging the Kraftwerk thing.
Yeah.
But you put rap on an electronic record?
Yeah.
Woo.
I wasn't.
And then the whole flip
Yeah.
was the message.
The message.
The whole
okay.
other flip of that was,
Okay.
conscious
Yeah.
rap. And then, of course, the funk. But the funk was way before that. But the funk and being a
What
drummer.
record did you hear when you were 12 and you go, wow?
12, shoot. That was
I mean, like an early record.
Well, when I heard Theme from SWAT, that was one of the, remember I told you I bought Jive Talking?
Yeah.
The other 45 I bought was Theme from SWAT by Rhythm Heritage, which was sampled by a ton of hip-hop people.
Yeah.
But the funk influenced me being into drums and the funk, that foundation.
That record was
if
like-
it makes you go like this, bobbing head wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But I was bobbing my head.
Going,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Billy Preston, Outer Space.
woo, yeah.
I heard that it was a theme song to a song, to a TV show. And it was a sports TV show, and that's what they play. And I'd always be like, what is that record? LTD, Back in Time Again, Back in Love Again. I saw that on Soul Train. I was like, what is this? I'd take my recorder Soul Train. What's this record?
That's why there was more than one, because eras and genres influenced. I mean, Planet Rock was that genre.
Planet Rock.
The funk was a different genre. The Melly Mel stuff was a different genre, even though it was still hip-hop. That was a conscious thing that,
Only several records gave me chills. Planet Rock and Survival were the only two records that's ever given me, like, I heard I'll never forget.
Scorpio.
But I heard Planet Rock. I was in North Carolina. I was playing Pac-Man on Atari, and it said W blah 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 blah. Yeah, and I remember turning around and heard this whoosh, and I was like, I just tapped the joystick. I was like, what? And I didn't even have time to record it. I was just like, what's this?
Being a bass brat, we had the luxury of the dope electronics. I had the biggest boombox in the neighborhood because that was the thing back then. And I was walking down the street with my friend Kevin, playing Planet Rock on repeat. Never got sick of it. The quality of it. And I watched a documentary about how they made it, and the whole play at your own risk was actually part of that same take on the 2-inch tape. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But we're gonna wrap this up. Because we talked a lot of tech stuff, a lot of stuff you probably don't
long
know
time.
about.
Hey, thanks for hanging out. Like Carbonell, I saw you up in there. Like whoever.
I was engaged in your story and missed a lot of comments, but I could always go back and address it. And you could watch this back. And
Okay, yeah.
get the reply of something that somebody asked or whatever. But much love for War and Peace.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Another
Thank you.
legend in Las Vegas. There's only a few. There's a handful that have been way back.
Yeah.
Like a track or cassette.
With cassette. Yeah, we're
Maybe
more
a
like a
CD.
cassette. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
But thanks for coming in.
Dude,
as soon as
anytime.
I mentioned it to you, I said, I'm doing this thing. If you want to do it, man, I'm down to do it.
Yeah, like
So
whatever.
that's
Let's do it. Yeah.
And you got a lot of history
I
outside of my previous history. There's that little pocket in the middle that you had.
Listen, the one thing I always say, man, is I've always known who you were. We were never the ones that went and had lunch or talked together, but whenever we saw each other, we were always like, yo, what up, man? Like, we were always mutuals, and I always appreciate that because it came from the heart of DJing. You know, at first, like, DJs, you're kind of competitive. You're kind of like, I don't know that, you know, you just go to, but me and you always seemed to like, yo, what up, Rob, blah, 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 blah. And I always was like, had this underlying, like, yo, that good, you know, that guy's cool. I like that guy, whatever, but we never like built upon it. So, you know, bring you on the show is
we're
always
in different
thank you.
cliques in our life. You had your clique. When we met, that was busy time. It wasn't, I didn't hang out with a lot of people. I was, foundation.
But it was
my
always a
Frankies and
mutual
this and that.
respect. Like, I always feel that me and you always had a mutual, you know, you walk into some club and you see somebody like, yeah, that motherfucker over there. For me and you, I was like, yo, Rob. What? Like, it was always like, yo, Rob's over there. I mean,
Pick up right where we left
I
off.
might not have seen you for years. I'd be like, yo, what up? Hey, Warren, what up? You know? And I've always had that that respect for you guys, seeing what you guys have done, and even though I wasn't there, I've always in the back, your name was always floating around, and I always had that respect. So thank you so much for bringing me on.
My
here.
respect to you is you're not just a DJ. You're one of those guys, and I've done it, and there's only a few who've done it, that you're a businessman, and you've done all these endeavors that some of them are risky, some of them maybe it failed me, but you went for it. Then you did the next thing. Then you did keep reinventing, keep doing something new. Now you're rolling around in Teslas. No, but much love, Warren, for showing up.
It's feelings mutual. For
we
real.
got episode 5 in the books.
Yes.
So,
long ass episode.
Yeah, long one, but shoot, we could do a part 2 if you're ready. I'll come up with more. We missed a few of our bullet points, but
the Titanic version.
Thank you guys for checking us out and sticking to it. And this will be on if you missed it or you caught the first half, missed the second half, caught the second half, missed the first. Just go back and watch it. But thanks, Warren.
Yeah,
and,
anytime.
Check out my Facebook because next week's guest will be Gerardo.
Nice.
Better known as Rico Suave. We produced some stuff together, worked together, traveled together. Kind of had his feet in Vegas for a few years. We did some projects, but trying to step up the game and get some music artists that you guys might be familiar with. And the week after that is Dino, Vegas, legendary Vegas artist that I work with. And just going to try to keep doing this if you guys are interested. So thanks for hanging out with us. Once again, thanks, Warren.
No problem.
We'll catch you guys next week. Let me see how I get out of this. All right, folks, we out.